What it do? Yo man, listen. Today, I'm gonna be revealing Patriarch, the legendary character for the genestealer cult faction in Tacticus. I will be referring to him as Peter, because I think that's funny. With that being said, let's get right into it. First things first, I know what the character model looks like. Oh, look at the tail, phallic, funny, haha. I get that, okay? I get that. That's out of the way, let's look at his stats. So, Patriarch, or Peter as I will call him, is the legendary character for the genestealer cult faction. If you look at his stats, we will see he has 9,500 health, 1,500 armor, 1,300 damage, and 3 movement. He supports this with 5 eviscerating hits in melee, no ranged attack, and a Tyrant crit item, a block item, and a Tyrant crit booster. For his traits, he has Infiltrate, which lets him ignore Overwatch. He has the Synapse trait, which lets instinctive behavior be ignored by like Tyrants and whatnot. He has the Terrifying trait, which makes him take 30% less damage in melee. And he has the Unstoppable trait, which lets him ignore movement penalties when it comes to hexes that modify movement, such as Barbed Wire, Flame, or Ice. Now, looking at all of this, the first impressions I have is he has potential for a Ragnar Black main comps because of the fact that he has 5 eviscerating hits and no ranged attack. However, aside from that, his health is nothing to write home about. His armor, his movement, and his damage stat are all average. However, one thing of note, he does not have the ambush token trait that Magus had, despite the fact that he can make use of them. This is a little surprising to me. I don't know why he doesn't have that trait. I would expect him to have it. But that being said, he's pretty average stat-wise. As for his abilities, the active ability is called Might from Below. With the new ability, displays, we can see that it's an active ability. It's a melee attack. It has multiple parts. The first part is it deals 5 times 1,000 to 1,200 psychic damage to an adjacent enemy, then summons a Pure Strain Genestealer on each adjacent decoy. The Pure Strain Genestealers can immediately attack in melee, but cannot move this turn. If you look at our stats, they have 4,400 health, 2,000 damage, and 1,000 armor. Pretty reasonable, nothing too crazy. Very important thing to note, this ability's damage ignores all the attacker bonuses and modifiers, including elevation, and cannot crit. The reason this matters is because this is psychic damage, and if it were to get double buffed by Ragnar's Howl and Eldryon, it would actually do a lot of damage. However, it can't. So, it does 5 times psychic damage and cannot be modified, so it's going to do like 5,000 damage on average. Summons Genestealer on adjacent decoys. Remember, decoys can be deployed by characters and summons with the decoy trait dying or Magus moving. If those Genestealers that are summoned, they can attack but cannot move. When I look at this, I had a little bit of chance to play with them. In my opinion, this requires too much setup for too little return. If the Genestealers could move, that will be a net positive. However, this is simply too much setup. The ambush tokens being random is extremely unreliable, and the fact that enemies can step on them to destroy them makes this active ability very underwhelming. And the cherry on top is the fact that his damage stat can't be modified. It's very annoying. For his passive ability, it's called Cosmic Horror. Whenever the Patriarch defeats an enemy, it places a decoy on the hex that the enemy was defeated on. Other enemies surrounding the defeated unit have a 60% chance to be suppressed for 1 round, and have a 60% chance to trigger battle fatigue a second time. If they have it, of course, right? Like Ultramarines are not going to have this in Legendary Release events, but Guard is going to have it, so it's going to be good against Guard. When the Patriarch moves onto a decoy, it heals itself for 4,000 health. Now you kill an enemy, you summon an ambush token. That's pretty cool. When you do so, you have a 60% chance to suppress and trigger battle fatigue again on enemies. This is like okay, this is like nothing special, I don't think. And when stepping onto a decoy, you heal 4,000 health. All of this shouts legendary release events. However, like this is extremely underwhelming. The fact that, oh, maybe on one track the enemy's gonna run away and you're gonna spawn an ambush token. Remember, in legendary release events, you get overwhelmed, so the enemy's going to step on the ambush tokens you create, so you're not gonna heal. And them being suppressed, it's like nice, I guess, but again, it's a 60% chance, it's not even guaranteed. Now, my initial thoughts of like what I've seen and the things I've shown you and having a chance to play this character, I don't think this guy has any raid applications. I don't think he's a raid character. I also don't think he's an arena character because of his lack of movement and how random the ambush tokens are. Looking at all of this, my initial thoughts is that he is a legendary release character. However, upon closer inspection, you will see that he doesn't even do that well. Spawning ambush tokens is cute in legendary release events because, you know, there's a lot of things to kill. You can spawn a lot of genestealers, you can heal yourself. However, that notion gets crushed when you realize that in legendary release events, you constantly get swarmed, so the enemies will step on the tokens you create. And on tracks where battle fatigue is not a factor, this will not matter. And my opinion is, I know this might be like a hot take, but a legendary character should be more than good in legendary release events. Like, Isabella is good in legendary release events, Angrak is good, and not a legendary character, shouldn't be the case. Now, my verdict, it's very harsh, and I do apologize if I'm killing your hype here, but I would go as far as to say that this is the worst legendary character in the game, worse than the guard legendary character whose name I'm Creed, worse than, what's his name? Not Angron. He's so bad I'm forgetting his name. That's how like bad this character is. He is worse than Abaddon the Despoiler. You might be saying, hey Draupnir, you're being hyperbolic. I'm not. I really am not. I don't think this character's active or passive abilities have any application in the game, whereas Abaddon's passive ability at least has like some applications in guild raids, but it's like bad compared to everything else. I do think this character desperately needs a buff. And, you know, if you are one of the 2 genestealer cult players in the planet, I feel for you. I feel bad for you. You deserve much better. I truly believe this is, like, not a good character. This is extremely disappointing to see, especially because just before the last character we got, which was, last legendary character we got, which was Mephiston, we have Karn the Betrayer. And I do truly believe this, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this. I would go as far as to say Karn the Betrayer is the single best designed character in Tacticus. He represents what he's supposed to do. He represents the identity, like the faction identity. He represents the tabletop identity of the character. I think Snowprint really hit the nail on the head with Karn, and I had like such high hopes for what was to come. Mephiston was less explosive, however, he was still applicable, he was still good, you know, it was a nice character. Perfect transition, nobody's not gonna know, I cut the video and I had to edit it, it's just perfect transition. I sneezed, that's why. No, it's just very disappointing to see that we went from Karn the Betrayer, which is the pinnacle of character design, to Patriarch who genuinely just doesn't do anything. With all that being said, the logical conclusion of what I'm saying is just buffing the character. However, what would you buff about him? I think he's so bad. Now, on the tabletop, he is a Psyker, so I was expecting psychic damage. Truth be told, he does have psychic damage in the form of his active ability, but it cannot be buffed, so it is extremely lackluster. Personally, I would like to see his melee damage type change to a psychic, and with 6 hits. Now, his damage stat would all, of course, need to get modified because it will do too much damage. However, this would promote experimentation with him in the Ahriman and Ragnar comps, because you're right, he is psychic, so he can get buffed. It will be very interesting. Additionally, he needs +1 movement. He's extremely slow for a melee-only character. I understand that other melee characters do exist. However, this guy has no ability to project threat outside of his range. Now, these might seem like very strong buffs. However, if his abilities are to remain as underwhelming as they are right now, he needs good stats to make up for it. this is very similar to Yascore in the sense that like his stats matter more than like the level ups of his abilities. Because truth be told, I don't like this character. I don't think he's good. I don't think he does anything. And the only reason to build him is to, you know, if you like genestealer cults and if you think he looks cool. I mean, that's my opinion. I would love to be proven wrong. I would like this character to get released and, you know, people to be like, hey, Draupnir, you were wrong. This character is actually like meta. That would be amazing. You know, I love the Patriarch. Patriarch's so cool. I just personally think this is a bad character that doesn't do anything. That being said, that's enough negativity for now. I do appreciate you watching my video. It means a lot to me. My referral code is in the middle of the screen. If you want to enter it, it will greatly support the channel and you will get 100 Blackstone shards. You know, once again, thank you very much for watching the video. Have a good day and stay safe.